Namaste, Deepa ji. Thank you for coming to this podcast.
There is immense amount of knowledge for in many of us, definitely people like you. But I think what I'm trying to do is how do you get to children in digestible chunks, in like
Yes.
fun stuff? Because I know I've seen my children play games, for example. They play some video games, they play, watch.
Yes.
You can't suddenly ask them to read something very, like texty prose, filled with prose. You have to make it a little interactive, a little fun. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do
That
with
is a great
youth.
work that you have done, and this is seriously a need of the hour. See, people wait for, oh, how about we start a Gurukul. I have a lot of people those who talk like that. But till the time Gurukul is not happening, bring the Gurukul at home.
Correct,
With the
correct,
help of
very true.
people like you, those who have written such interesting
Yes.
books, they can just start those activities with your children. Don't wait. Your
Mm.
child may be out of the college even and living the life and may be frustrated thinking, why didn't my parent teach me all this? So
Yes,
teach
yes,
them
yes,
today.
yes. Actually, interesting you say that because there have been some others who told me I didn't know all of this, so I actually
Yeah.
like the books too. So I think learning shouldn't stop. Like for example, the concept of Panchamaya Mahayajna, which I feel is a very powerful construct. There is this usual accusation made that Hindus, Christians volunteer, they do charity. Other people do charity, Islam and everything, but Hindus don't do it. Like, this is so wrong. Charity doesn't come from having a big organization and doing all
Right.
of this. Every Hindu was doing it as part of Panchamahayajna. This Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Rishi Yajna, Manusha Yajna, and Bhuta Yajna. They would give the cow something, like
Yes.
they will leave. Everybody,
And
I know
ours
that
are
is.
the only shastras which explain the smritis that we have got, the dharma sutras that we have got. It specifically talks about 8 or 9 different kinds of dana. So such a
Mm.
detailed study on charity has never happened.
Very true. Very, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
And even how to give, right? Like if
Mhm.
the Taittiriya Upanishad,
Yes, it
the
talks about
graduation thing,
different
right? Yeah.
characteristics of place, time, who to give,
Yeah.
how to give, and what to expect, what not to expect. Such a
Exactly.
scientific
Exactly.
way of explaining what dan
Yeah.
is actually, which will help you in at times for the attaining some worldly things, at times having your karma straight, at times
Yes.
eliminating the suffering that the karma causes in future, and at
Yeah.
times just getting a good birth and afterlife.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's an exhaustive
Exhaustive
is what
study
you're
of dana.
saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And also saying like Shraddhaya Dem, Ashraddhaya
Huh?
Bhiyadem. Don't give thinking, oh, I'm giving.
Huh?
It's like you should just Bhagavan is making me. It's just passing on. It's just beautiful, but we don't know about it.
Yeah,
So yeah, so
one
those
of the
powers.
Shruti says that a rich Dhanpati Vyakti giving even a cow or as many as hundreds of horses in Dan without Shraddha is lesser than somebody feeding somebody just that day's meal with Shraddha has a much bigger impact.
Very true, very true. And that is actually a lesson for the modern world, right? Because we have big
Philanthropy.
foundations of, yeah, it's a business actually. It's a business,
I
right?
am doing this
Because these,
G20 work with the philanthropy division, and I realized that, on the name of philanthropy, they are just running some dharmic agenda in the country. In some other country, you go wreck, find some things, learn the resources, see how
yeah,
in other ways we can exploit. So, see the whole
correct.
concept of philanthropy and dan, people need to read that, study that from the Shastras before you can actually start a non-profit and actually start doing something towards it.
Very
Otherwise, that just becomes another way of doing adharma and raking up your own karma in the process.
very very true. And that's what we are also seeing in the university campuses. My point, and when I talk to youth in this thing, I said, I know it's very nice to see you guys being compassionate for the others. You're not being
Ah,
selfish. You think that's wonderful, no doubt. But you don't know a problem that's happening thousands of miles away. You have no clue about it because you have no skin in the game. You know that what happens there does not affect you,
hmm.
and you don't know the details of the nuances of why such a problem is happening. I'm not even mentioning any, like it could be Palestine, it could be
Yes,
anywhere, right?
yes.
Africa,
It's
anywhere. It
happening
doesn't
here
matter.
too in Australia.
Yeah. But the point is, you don't know the details of what's happening in that country
Right.
enough. So when you're this age, what you should instead focus on, and how can I help people in my vicinity. So I asked, my children, my college age children, I said, there are people suffering from mental health right in your own dorm. You're in college. There are people going through suffering in their, maybe they can't still do their college fees. Maybe they have problems at home.
Yes.
Maybe they have some health issues or physical or mental health issues going on. You have no time for them, but you're thinking of something happening in thousand miles away where you don't even understand the problem. So I kind of have been, and actually when I put it that way, there have been some children who said, wow, I've never thought about it like that. And they actually, one girl from Dallas, she came and said, Auntie, I'm going to do more work. I'm going to join my college association for, this helping, these being a peer buddy, whatever. They have this system where they can talk to somebody in need and that kind of stuff. So she said, I'm going to do more of that. I think that's a better use of your time. You can be much more helpful than carrying some placard and shouting about something that you don't understand. Right? So these are conversations I think we need to have. That's also, I think, with Hindu Dharma, we say, knowledge is very important. Like doing things, and that's, by the way, in the stories also I bring out, for example, in the Adideva book, there's a story which is, I think it's more from Tamil Nadu. I don't know if many people know about the story, but the story is that Skanda, Kartikeya, he one day, Brahmaji is coming into Kailash, and Kartikeya asks him, what do you do? And he says, Brahmaji says, I use the Pranava mantra and I create the universe. And Kartikeya asks Brahmaji, what do you mean? What is your understanding of Pranava mantra? And Brahmaji is not able to answer. So he says, I just use it, but I don't know the meaning of it. So Kartikeya says, you cannot do something without having full knowledge of a certain thing. Like if you're making something, you need to have complete knowledge of it. Since you're not doing that, you're not going to be the creator anymore. So the story goes that he jails Brahmaji and he himself becomes the creator. So he takes Brahmaji's Japmala and Kamandala and he starts creating the world. And then Shiva Parvati are like, what is this? And they come, Skanda, why, Kartikeya, why are you doing this? And Kartikeya explains that, and Shiva agrees with him. And the story is, Tal Puran goes, Shiva, yes, you're right. If Brahmaji has been doing, he should truly understand before he is doing that karma. He can't just blindly do something. So, but then interestingly, the father asked the son, but what about you? You're doing creation. Do you know the meaning of Pranava? And Kartikeya, of course I do. And then Shiva says, why don't you explain it to me? And then Kartikeya says, I will. But when I'm doing Pranava Upadesha, you are my student and I'm the guru. So you have to sit at my feet and learn. And it's such a beautiful story where Shiva actually goes down and kneels. So that's, it's called the Swaminatha.
This is a very good story for to learn, actually, for parents that are there. At times, child is saying the right thing. The youth is saying the right thing. Still, I have seen parents having such a child ego that they are actually headbutting with their own children, the young children, and not understanding and not ready to give up just because of the ego. So if Shiva can do that, learn from his own son, so can all the adults.
See, you brought a new insight for me. I didn't think of that. Yes, you're very true. And I think pursuit of truth should be number one, I feel.
Yes.
Whether parent, student, whoever it is, pursuit, especially in Adhyatma space, the pursuit of truth is the number one goal, whether it comes from a child or, even there is this ego sometimes, especially, if you're learning the Gita, like I know better. But I've actually seen sometimes that people who have never even heard about the term Vedanta, they will say something that would be like so perfect. So I think the truth comes from various sources and we need to be open to accept
this
it.
attitude towards learning, that yes, my whole life I am going to learn something or the other thing. Even after Samadhi, I am learning a lot from people like you. Lot of people those who come to my podcast, I am learning something new from them all the time. And it's this openness that helps you attain the truth in the end. So, and it's always about the truth, neither about me, neither about you. We'll be gone someday in some other world, on some other journey. Truth will still remain.
Yeah,
So that is
yeah.
what everybody should strive for. So that is a wonderful actually learning that you are giving to the youth. What else can we do with these young children and the parents according to you, which will help them live a dharmic life, not destroy your karma, and even if you are not spiritual at all, still just think about how much suffering a breakup from love causes to your child, how much suffering not getting the job, not getting a particular college will give to your child, and it becomes a sort of a status issue or ego issue, or because your child is suffering, you suffer in a way too. So when your child is meeting the failures in life, how are you making sure that he or she will be able to handle that gracefully?
Yeah, very, very critical question today. I think, there is a general understanding among many parents, I think affluent parents, whether in the West or even in India, that having lived a very comfortable life without facing
Your
too
child,
many
they think your
difficulties.
child will never suffer at all just because you
Yeah.
have so much money. No, a lot of highly depressive kids actually come from the highly affluent background.
Very true,
So
very true.
money has no
But
bearing.
but the point is, I think having grown up affluent has made these children somewhat weaker in
Yes.
facing life situations, right?
Yes.
When even something small like we didn't face. I personally can't claim that I faced any major catastrophe, but we faced a difficulty on an everyday basis, right?
Yes.
The buses or water situation or
Uh,
college things may not work out the way you want. People were harsh on us, like our professors, teachers used to be harsh on us. So small ways you get tested through childhood, like not it doesn't have to be in the small ways. Money was somewhat limited, so you get tested in small ways through childhood. And so by the time you faced a lot of these small pinpricks of life, as
yes.
again Swami Shivananda calls. But now it's like the parents are putting a red carpet for the children. There's no waiting, there is no hunger. And in fact, after a point, I was also pampering my children. Like I would carry food even after they cross a certain age because they would feel hungry. Then I said, what? I remember going and standing like in the temple, like Kuldevata and all. Sometimes it would be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock by the time we had lunch. You would have like a few bananas and this is about it. Why am I doing that? Let them face hunger a few times so
Yes.
they build that thing, right? So you kind of do
I
that.
once met a
Um,
Japanese lady. She was a seeker. She came to me and she was millionaire. And after explaining her a lot, after a few days, she said, "Why didn't you say that suffering is needed for vairagya or virakti, or that suffering is needed in life to be?" So I said, I said to her, I didn't realize that you guys had no suffering at all in this. I come from India. Everyday
wow.
living there is a struggle, even though my parents were doctors. So what?
Yeah.
Going to school by cycle 6 kilometers, this, that, everything was a struggle every day. So I thought suffering was very much the part of life. And it is
Correct, correct.
accepted that it's going to be there. Now, how you
Right.
take it, that's your problem. So then she said,
Yeah.
no, you don't realize that it's an important point. And that's why
Wow.
Buddha taught the world. He was teaching the affluent people that, see, suffering made you strong. Suffering gave you something. It didn't always took something from you. It was suffering. If suffering was able to take something from you, that means you were weak.
Correct. Very true. You're very true. But that's an interesting that she said that. Yeah, they don't even realize it,
Yeah,
right?
they
Like
don't
the
realize it.
see every parent thinks they want to do the good thing for their children, but sometimes what we do is we don't think long term. We want
Yeah.
to minimize their current suffering, but this is also about building their courage to face future suffering. We don't think of that because suffering is inevitable. They're going to face something or the other.
Yes.
So I think it's super crucial. I think that's partly related to all this so-called mental health epidemic in a way that's
Yes.
going
Yes.
on. And some of the reasons, I mean, while it's very sad, but some of the reasons seem very, very like really like
Trivial.
this. You have everything. You have perfect family, you have food, you have house, you have everything, and there's a small thing that set you off. Then it feels a little, So the five superpower that I with the book that I speak on the same topic elsewhere as well. But writing the book is the idea is that the same topic will get a wider coverage. But
Yes.
so the five things I talk about is the first one is grit. Grit as in things will go wrong because that's his life. Nobody's going to have a perfect, like everything working out according to their situation ever. It could be financial, it could be health, it could be relationship, it could be job, whatever it is, friends, that's going to happen. So how do you like develop the muscle to resolve that? Of course, you'll feel sad for a few minutes, few hours, few days, but no more after that. How do you get up and go? And by doing that multiple times, like we all did growing up, you will develop the muscle to actually not be so devastated. You will like, okay, I've failed this multiple times, I'll do it again. So that grit is the number one superpower. The second is focus. We talked about it quite earlier, how the brain gets burnt. So this focus is the second superpower. And I think at the least, have a morning and nighttime schedule of pranayama and some kind of mantra japa or something so that you're able to develop that focus. And the third one is purity of mind. Don't fall into every negativity is natural. Having a desire is natural. Having jealousy is part of human life. But how do you not give fuel to that and make it grow? Just recognize it and then resolve it. Like this is not helpful. So the purity of mind. And the fourth was gratitude, because complaints come because you don't have enough gratitude. Every situation you look at the positives, and part of that we talk about the rina, how much we've been blessed with even the human birth and everything. And the last one is love. I think everything, and that's also something that I'm not a very sentimental person and all. I was very practical, like get things done and business like and all of that. But I think Shiva Bhakti has made me is softer in a way. So I think the capacity to love helps in so many ways, and the love can start with love of Bhagwan, and then
And it's
then you
it's
see.
it's also about compassion. Learning compassion. What if you were into the other person's shoes? So one day my son was in his 11th or 12th, 11th actually, 10th or 11th, and he came to me, and his one of his teacher, who used to treat him like he's the most important and most studious kid in the class. So she just yelled on him, and she threw his notebook in out of the class, saying, "You didn't do this. Just get out of my class." And she just yelled. He cried, and he came home. He went to the office telling, "Call my mom. I want to go home now." He came home and he kept crying after that. In the evening, he said, Mama, I'm just so angry with that teacher. How can she do that? And I'm just burning. I'm just restless. Tell me how to handle this. And I said, just forgive her. Maybe she was having a bad day, and maybe she had a fight or something serious going on her in her life. When she treated you 100 days, she treated you properly. One day she blasted. You cannot judge her behavior like that. So just forgive her. You will be at peace. Maybe whatever she did, that we'll see that. And then he tried to do that. How do you? There's no process of telling somebody how to forgive. You just have to forgive, right? You just have to get it somewhere. That this. And next day he went to school and he told me, "Mama, that teacher, she said sorry to me, and she said she was having a fight on the school gate with her husband. They are about to break up." And that's the fight. She was that kind of a mood. And then he said, "I wish Hitler had a mom like you."
Forgive.
He wouldn't have become such a cruel person.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny.
So, developing
Yeah.
compassion, forgiveness for others is what makes you human. And most importantly, it doesn't disturb your peace. It helps you stay balanced, focused, and peaceful with it.
Very true. Very, very true. Yeah. So I think there are so many techniques, like you say, and it all comes back to this vichara, right?
Yes.
Like basically, you're supposed to think. You're supposed to
Contemplation.
analyze the
Yeah.
situation. Yeah. We face this. My daughter was saying, like she has her friend has something. She got an internship that she would have loved to do. She has. So now what happens is, she has a internship, and she was happy with it until now. But now she's looking at somebody else and say things that is better. So I said, that will never end. It will never end. You cannot allow that to, because what happens is, not only are you now needlessly, because your good friend has got something, now you're not even completely happy for her. Number one. Secondly, you're not happy for what you have. You have something good, and until yesterday you were very happy with it. But now, so this jealousy actually helps has serves no purpose.
Yes.
Whereas convert that to inspiration. So are you interested in something like that? Talk to that friend. How do I also, kind of apply? I mean, make it convert that negative emotion into something more that's positive. So I think these are very, very
You said a
important.
very, very good point. Inspiration. I see lot of parents, they just lack the inspiration from their life. Most of the time they are doing the exactly same thing like the kids are doing. That somebody has more houses, more cars, or more wealth, or more better life, and they are not realizing that they didn't need all that. All they needed was an inspiration. So what can adults and youth and children, three separate classes of beings, what can they do to inspire themselves? What do you think is the best way?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the textbook answer is satsang, right? Textbook answer is satsang. But I think we should also consciously develop that. I think, and that's something I tell my children all the time is given a choice, they don't look for this Pushpitam Vacham in Gita says there are people who will be like, they'll be flowery language and they'll seem like they're very, Krishna says, Yamimam Pushpitam Vacham. They'll say such sweet things to you. Don't fall for it, but actually find for people, people who are like grounded and authentic and they're not, they'll have their faults, no doubt, but they're not pretending to achieve something. But that said, to your point, right? One of the things which, and again, we all in the US, all surrounded by all materialism. And I mean, obviously, I was in a very high profile career and it's very easy to get caught into, that kind of stuff. But I think that is where I think Swami Chinmayananda's guidance and all that helped is you need to be a holistic person.
Yes.
Because you can't have like a stool that like a four-leg stool that like you can take it as a purushartha, for example, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. You can't have one leg that is high and the other three legs lower because you'll topple. So you do need to aim for a balance.
I like this
there.
analogy a lot. I can imagine people actually wobbling on the stools.
That's what most of us are, right? That's what most of us are. In fact, I do the study, facilitate the adult study group for the initial class. So we have, just like classes, we have multiple levels. So the people who come into the initial study group are people who have not thought about all of this at all. So when they are faced with all this, they're like, wow, but does it mean I shouldn't buy like a Tesla? That shouldn't be. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that you're not relying on it for your happiness and if you don't get it, make that a cause for your sadness. So that is kind of what it is. But more importantly, I think this capacity to turn inside is very, very important. And, and again, the Upanishads talk about it. Most people are externally focused, that paranchikani vyatrana swayambhuhu tasmat paran pashyati na antaratman. Most people don't look at antaratman. They are looking externally focused only. But that is what the Upanishad says, Brahma has created you like that, but you have to somehow do it. And how do you do it? Because I think that vichara. I've had everything in my life. Still, I'm feeling suffering, there are still problems. Why is that happening? So I think there is a lot of vichara that needs to happen. Lot of people, like you said when we started out, a lot of people blindly do things even in India or elsewhere. They are like, we all see that they go to temple, they go to yatras, they do puja part, everything, but they have no. But I think the question they need to ask is, I've been doing this. Have I achieved the benefit of that particular practice? I'm not saying we should immediately have like you got the blessing of being completely realized. No. Is my peace going up? Is my patience going up? Is my love towards everybody going up? Am I still being besought by like jealousy or desire or sorrow and all of that? I think that is something that nobody can answer that for you. It's your own question, your own answer. And if you're able to see that there is some progress, you should continue to do that practice. If not, you should really question, I feel, like what am I not doing? Or maybe whatever they're doing is fine, but they have to do it with understanding, like the Brahmaji example we talked about, is, if you're doing like Shiva Puja or Krishna Puja or whatever, for example, have I truly understood that Bhagwan? Like Shiva, for example, now, your beautiful, your organization's name is like Being Shiva. Like how more beautiful than that? Am I being Shiva? Or at least trying to be? Am I seeing Shiva all around me?
I tell people, are you doing Shiva or being Shiva?
Yeah.
Don't just stay stuck doing the doing Shiva part. Just become being Shiva.
Right, right, right. So I think I think Hindu Dharma asked us to do that, right?
Yes.
It asked us to think about think about why you're doing, but I think people kind of lost a lot of it. And definitely we should. I do believe in karma kanda and puja part and all. I'm not saying I don't, but how much understanding do you have as to why you're doing? And by the way, has it resulted after you've done it for 5, 10, whatever years? Has it resulted in something?
Something.
Love for Bhagwan should have given you something. That
Yes.
love for Bhagwan should have given you courage. It should have given you more patience, in love for others, kindness towards others, compassion, like you mentioned. If not, why? What am I doing? I think that's something that parents should. I mean,
It's not
adults.
some sort of a checklist that you have to visit Char Dham, where you have to visit here and there, and in the end of the day, you are the same person. So
Yes,
again, geography did nothing to you.
yeah, neither did all the pujas and everything, right?
Nothing. Yeah.
Yes, it's very
I've
true.
seen some really
Lineage.
bitter and really crazy kind of people. And these are the people who will boast about how many dhams they have gone, how many Shakti Peethas they have visited, and how much bhakti that they do. I said, and how much Ganga Snan they have done. I said the only Ganga was truly the Gyan ki Ganga. That has not
Right.
happened. So, what is the purpose of taking
Actually,
dip
to
in
be
the Ganga
honest,
every day?
even while doing that Ganga Snan,
Ha,
that bhava itself won't come
ha,
sometimes. I mean,
ha,
frankly, I'm not judging others because I've been like that in the past.
ha.
I used to sit on pujas and my mind would be somewhere else, right? I
Yes.
would do something, so I'm not saying that it's easy, but after a point, so now I feel, and in Facebook, I use this word called make it matter.
Ha.
Whatever you do, make it matter. Like if you're doing a puja, and in fact, I tell me sometimes I say I don't have time. I'm going to do a small puja, but today I just want to be alone
Yeah.
because I want to make it matter now. Like I just want to do that, right? Everything, like you're keeping a sindoor. I said, I don't want it to be mechanical. When I'm keeping my sindoor, it's Shiva Shakti for me.
Ha.
It's like I'm going to invoke Shiva Shakti and do that. So what happens is you may only do 2 or 3 things a day, but those 2 or 3 things do it with complete bhava and complete, thing, So, and I myself know on days when I do that with complete bhava, how different it is on days where I'm just doing mechanically. Sometimes I do it
I
mechanically because
actually I actually tell people not to do it mechanically. Why?
correct.
Somewhere in the background of your mind, it becomes more like a habit. And
Yeah.
then it's of no
Very.
use until and unless it's a conscious thing for you.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's all we can say for that is it's better than doing something else, something wasteful. That is all you can
Ah,
say in that case. But I know there are some people who started doing mechanically and who changed. But I think as adults we have the responsibility. And people say, "Oh, I don't understand," and all that. And that question really, like every you don't have to know Sanskrit because every translation is available,
yes.
and we are all experts at using the internet for other purposes, right?
Yes.
When you're looking at
Ask people
shopping,
about shopping, cricket match, or
yeah,
new Bollywood
yeah,
movie, this movie, that thing, this
correct,
thing. They're
yeah,
very good. They suddenly become very good on their phone about searches. But when it
yeah.
comes to truly something that will benefit you in this life, will take away the suffering
Mm,
that you have, then you suddenly
correct,
say, "Oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know about this. I don't know."
right.
It's just that the desire itself is not there.
Correct, correct. There are people who have seen they come for chanting, they don't know to that. I said, well, it's a Google search away.
Hmm.
It's like what's stopping you from, you don't have the book, some excuse or the other, right? There's no excuse. And secondly, everything there's a translation
Ah,
available.
in every language,
It's
there is a translation.
every language is translation
Ah,
available. You have so many apps on the phone. Where is your Stotra Nidhi app or Vijnana app or
ah,
whatever it is, right?
ah.
There are hundred, and thankfully there are people putting everything. They are taking the effort to do it, and there are so many podcasts that explain. There are so many, sources. It's but we have to. If you're not prioritizing, don't blame the
Ah,
world for it, right?
yes.
So yeah. But anyway, I just feel like that's also their journey. So I just wish them well, and that's it. We can't do. But I think the work of so many people has helped. Like it has helped me. Like I watched, I heard, read so many people, and that helped me. So hopefully that it'll spread further.
Yeah, that wonderful,
Sweet.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Deepa ji, and I'm really glad that we got you on this podcast, and I'm sure some of the parents in living in the western countries will start something good with their children, with the youth, and will engage themselves first without making an excuse. Engage yourself first and then think about your children. You are the
Yes.
role model. Children copy you. They won't hear your lectures after 10 to 12, 13 years of age. They are not going to listen to you what you say. They may be able to copy what you do. So,
Yeah. I mean, being a role model is number
yeah.
one. And so for us, right? We have to
Yes.
be authentic.
Yes.
We have to show our thing for our children to follow. That's
Yeah.
very true.
Just
Very true.
beautiful,
And
wonderful things that you have said and you have shared. Thank you so much, Deepaji.
thank you for the opportunity. Prakriti, it's been such a joy. And Om Namah Shivaya.